Sebastian Vettel was the fastest, proven to be the fastest out of all the cars. And funny enough, Lewis Hamilton conceding that Ferrari, well, mind games I'm sure is involved, but he is saying that Ferrari are faster, yet as I put in our script in brackets, he said this 12 months ago, and look what happened. Jack Price, it's looking interesting because Ferrari, I mean, I guess the good thing for Ferrari is they're up there still.
Yep.
You know, we've had a few seasons where they're just not competing at all, but at least they haven't lost the touch from last year, but they still need to improve. So how do you feel?
So.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually confident now seeing what testing's given us. I think all the teams have improved in terms of their engines. I think obviously for the last few years we've been having to deal with this hybrid era of engines, and I think the first couple of years in testing, engines were blowing out left, right and centre. Just look at McLaren with the Honda. Whereas now you look at Honda with the Red Bull, that looked spotless. It didn't look like it had any issues at all. I think the only issue really was Gasly when he hit the wall, and that was down to Gasly, not down to the
inexperience,
not down to the engine. But you look at Sebastian Vettel; he did a staggering 2,790 laps during the whole test, which is
lost a lot of weight.
Well, I expect so, but look at how much Ferrari data-wise have got hold of that. A lot of people were saying Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes weren't putting in fast laps like Ferrari were doing, but Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas did so many race distances. I think there was a day where Lewis Hamilton did 3 races in one day in terms of the laps they did. So people were like, they don't look like they're on the same level, but Mercedes were just being so methodical. Let's see how many laps we can do. Let's put in as much data as possible, and I think Mercedes believe they're about half a second away from Ferrari at the minute, even though Lewis Hamilton finished 0.3 of a second in terms of single lap pace. But Mercedes believe they're that far behind, and Lewis Hamilton obviously saying it's going to be a closer battle than the last few years. Ultimately, as a fan, let's hope so, because we want that. We say that every year, but again this year it's the same thing. We want a battle. We were talking earlier that you think Red Bull with that Honda power unit are a dark horse. Renault as well. We're not sure what Renault package ultimately they're going to bring to the season. So
it's got Ricciardo. You never know what to expect.
Exactly. So we'll see what the first race of the season brings. But I'm hugely looking forward to it. 6 a.m. race start.
I think it's 6 a.m. I need to check. I bet it's 5 a.m. I bet it's 5 a.m. just to annoy us.
Ultimately, really looking forward to the start of the season, and let's hope, because Vettel's won the first 2 races last 2 years at Australia, but you think Leclerc's going to?
I just have this feeling it's in the script of Leclerc winning the first race. I'd love it. It'd be like heaven, be in bliss. No, I've not been playing Far Cry 5 or anything like that. But we'll see. We'll see. Do you think they're the favourites then, Ferrari, for at least the constructors? Because they've got, I'm not saying Raikkonen's not a good enough driver to have been there for another season, but you've got 2 drivers that will be going for it now, because I feel as though Raikkonen over the last few years accepted I'm the second driver. Leclerc, ahead of this season, should be seen as the second driver, but we know that's not going to happen. Not when a young driver comes in. They take the opportunity and go for it. So, do you think because they could both be battling up there, they could at least win the constructors? It
sounds weird, but I think it'll depend. I think when you look at Mercedes, they work as a team. You look at last season, 1-2s, whatever. But Ferrari, it might be a bit at loggerheads, depending on how far Leclerc decides to go.
I still have a feeling Bottas might look at the season and think, no, I've got to go for it. Forget Hamilton. I've got to go for it.
Like we said, he said he was in a dark place after that. At the end of last season, the fact that he didn't win a race all year. He lost out in Azerbaijan. He'll give the position up in Russia to Lewis Hamilton by team orders.
And he won that race the year before. As well.
And so he wasn't. He wasn't happy about how the season finished. So he believes he's going to have to put a next level to try and beat Lewis Hamilton. So if Bottas and Hamilton are fighting for number 1 status, as well as Leclerc and Vettel. That's 4 drivers that all want to win. There can only be 1 winner in each race, and there's 4 of them going for it. If that's the case, so that will be interesting to see, because you don't know how the race will impact. And then again, you've got Max Verstappen in his Red Bull. What they decide to do.
Then you got Gasly.
Exactly.
Then you got Ricciardo at Renault. Then you got Perez at Racing Point. It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. Yeah. Viva Mexico, all that crap. But Conor. You in the past have would you say you're a Vettel fan at all, or what would you say?
No, I'm gonna have to give a resounding no.
Do you think though, because the car at the moment is clearly showing that it's competitive for the top spot?
Yeah.
He's got to look at last season and think, well, the Germany race when he lost it in the rain, and
I think he has to look at the last 5 years.
Last 5 years.
Yeah, and think, not really pushed Lewis Hamilton much to the limit, have I?
But do you ever think, because 2014 Ferrari were nowhere near? Well, actually, he wasn't in that. He was in Red Bull at the time, and that's when Ricciardo was doing better than him. And then
he was nowhere near.
He was nowhere near, was he? But 2015, he actually spent most of the year just laughing in press conferences because he kept finishing third because he couldn't keep up with the Mercedes. So, yeah, I can understand what you mean, yeah, but I'd say the last 2 years have been really
competition
bad.
brings the best out of people, and I think with Leclerc at the team, a young, hungry driver looking to prove a point, looking to show that, he's not just some young kid that's brought in to be the second driver to Vettel. I think that'll bring the best out of Vettel. So I think we'll see the best out of him from the past 5 years, but the question will be whether or not he's going to be consistent and good enough in order to see out the season and to battle Hamilton, if it is to be Hamilton, for the Drivers' Championship. We saw last season he did it all the way up until the summer, and then suddenly it fell apart after the British Grand Prix. German Grand Prix crashed out near the end, and then after that it was pretty much history. Hamilton pretty much was on top of Vettel for almost every single race, and he ended up winning the title. So, he could have the fastest car now, but it's just whether or not the discipline comes into play when the races happen, and would have to wait and see on that point there. But, certainly you've got other teams that can cause a bit of a stir in the chase, like Renault and Hulkenberg looking pretty well in testing throughout the couple of weeks. Sainz having the 8th fastest overall time in the McLaren. So
it's the young Alonso again.
The teams are definitely there, and you talk about Williams. It could be a bit trouble for them. You said about how all the teams did well. No teams was really busting up or whatnot. But I think Williams were excused from that situation because they hardly had a car on the track for a lot of the time as well.
They did put in a few good performances.
But Kubica said that he didn't have a long run more than 15 laps. So it's a bit of a concern really for the team, I think. And you talked about the concerns that you had over the past with the fact that they didn't get a car onto the track. I think we'll have to wait and see as to how they approach Australia and how they look in Australia for a real verdict as to how the team will perform in the 2019 season.
Born GP 2009 could happen in 2019. 10 years on, we should have an anniversary about that. Really, this year. It was.
Hat in. You bought a hat.
I've got the hat. Yeah,
you're going to see Jensen. You're going to see him every single week on Sky Sports now.
Yeah, with Martin Brundle, which Jack's not excited about because he's not a Sky Sports F1 fan. But he's not. But he's only there for the money. Just look at it that way, Jack. Look at
Enjoy
it that way.
He's balancing it out because Nico Rosberg's in it.
He's terrible. But you have to say your team and your driver, and not say why because we are running out of time. Who's going to win the constructors and the drivers after we've seen the testing?
Who's going to what?
Who's going to win the drivers' championship?
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
I said Bottas last year, didn't I? And that went well.
You have to be really quick.
Sebastian Vettel is going to win the title, and Ferrari are going to win the constructors.